All right, all praise, glory, and honor is most certainly from the Most High, God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, peace to you in the name of his Son, Jesus. I count it truly a blessing each and every single time that I can come before the preach the word of God, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. All right, brothers and sisters, I want to deal with a question today that a brother contacted me and asked, and the question was, who is Leviathan? Who is Leviathan? Okay, so commonly speaking, you see that you see the word Leviathan. You can look it up. It says like a dragon, large, large animal. Sometimes you say large sea creature, or sea monster. Even is how it's referred. And even I think I said dragon already. So that's um, Leviathan in general. But when you're saying, when you ask the question, who is Leviathan, as if it's an individual, um, that particular explanation for that, who he is, let's go to the book of Job. All right, this is Job, and we're gonna pick it up in the 41st chapter, Job 41, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Because the question is, who is Leviathan? And here we see one of the most well-known instances of a Leviathan being described. And this is in the book of Job, the end of Job, right? And this is after Job has been, his life has been decimated really with loss. He's lost his children, he lost his health, and he lost his wealth. And even his wife, she said, "Dost thou still retain that integrity? Why don't you curse God and die?" Okay. Then his friends come and they speak against him. All right. So now he understands that it wasn't because of his wrongdoing that all this took place. He understood that it was from the Lord and that the Lord had control, and the Lord had to put him in his place in the sense of letting him know, like, who are you to question me as the sovereign, supreme being? You're not in a position to question anything that I'm doing. And then so he had to in his inquiry, he shows him that he's omnipotent and all powerful. He interrogated it. He starts his interrogation because his friends came against him. He really wanted to be vindicated in front of his peers. But the Lord answered him in a whirlwind in chapter 38, verse 1. It says, "Then the Lord answered Job out of a whirlwind and said, Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? He tells him, Gird up now thy loins like a man, and I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding." So he's saying, you are not in a position to question anything that I'm doing. And he goes from that chapter to the next chapter where he's just laying down hard facts about his omnipotence. All right. He asks him, and even Job has to say in chapter 40:3, then Job answered the Lord and said, Behold, I am vile. What shall I answer thee? I will lay mine hand upon my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer. Yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. And the Lord continued to question Job. And so in chapter 41, he questions him about this Leviathan. And it says in chapter 41 of Job and verse 1, beginning there, it says, Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put an hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Excuse me. Verse 3, will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? Will he make a covenant with thee? Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? Wilt thou play with him as with a bird, or wilt thou bind him for thy maidens? Shall the companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? Lay thine hand upon him. Remember the battle, do no more. Behold, the hope of him is in vain. Shall not one be cast down even at the sight of him? So on the surface, we can say, well, yeah, it's just talking about an animal in the sense of some creature that's large and massive and powerful, and that if you go heads up with in some kind of physical altercation, you're going to lose. Verse 10, it says, none is so fierce that dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand before him? Okay. Now, when you look at that, you say, well, this is just talking about an animal. But as you continue to read, it doesn't read like you're talking about simply just some sea creature or just some large, massive animal in the animal kingdom. He goes on to say in verse 26, the sword of him that layeth at him cannot hold, the spear, the dart, nor the habergeon. And that's just a javelin. Verse 27, he esteemeth iron as straw and brass as rotten wood. So you can't fight him with regular tools or weapons. Verse 28, the arrow cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned with him into stubble. Now, wait a minute. What kind of creatures have been, so he's basically saying that kind of weaponry is futile if you take it up and try to fight this one. Verse 29, darts are counted as stubble. He laugheth at the shaking of a spear. Sharp stones are under him. He spreadeth sharp pointed things upon the mire. He maketh the deep to boil like a pot. He maketh the sea like a pot of ointment. He maketh the path to shine after him. One would think the deep to be hoary. Upon earth there is not his like, who is made without fear. Yeah, so you can say, yeah, it's just talking about, again, this animal. But then in verse 34, something peculiar is here. It says, he beholdeth all high things. He is a king over all the children of pride. Now, when you see that makes you think, how's he a king over all the children of pride? If he's a children, that means he's like a type of father. What is this talking about? Let's go to Isaiah the 27th chapter and see something about the one who's referred to as Leviathan. This is Isaiah the 27th chapter in verse 1. It says, in that day the Lord with his sword and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan. So now Leviathan is going to be punished. Why is the Lord punishing an animal? So it says, if we keep reading, listen to how it's described. So it says, I'll start at the beginning. In verse 1, Isaiah 27:1, it reads, in that day the Lord with his sword and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Okay, so now we have this one that's referred to as Leviathan or even a serpent. Now let's go to Revelation. Revelation 12, and I'll pick it up at verse 9. Well, actually, verse 7. It says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought in his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Okay, so now, when you think about that, and then you go back to Job, see, what happened to Job? That happened at the behest of Satan. But he said something. He said, canst thou draw out Leviathan? In other words, can you control this one? See, Satan wasn't doing anything that the Lord did not allow. Let's go to the beginning of Job. Job 1 and verse 6, it says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and from the earth and from walking up and down in it. He is the one that has made this pot to boil. He is the one that is in the seat, or the seat of the people, wreaking havoc. And it says in verse 8, and the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made an hedge about him and about his house? In other words, you're protecting him. It says, and about all that he hath on every side, thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. How was he touching all that he had? In other words, destroying what he had through Satan. But Satan couldn't just do it. He had protection from God. The Lord had to allow Satan to do it. Listen what he said. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power, of only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. It wasn't as if Satan could have just done this. You know, you see these foolish pictures where you see a horned individual, red all over, supposed to be Satan, a heinous looking fiend, and then you have this Europeanized supposed Messiah figure, some supposed to be Jesus or some deity or whoever, and they're arm wrestling. Have you seen that foolishness? Well, that is not what it is. It's the Most High is just that. He is sovereign. There's nothing you can do to stop his program. There's nothing any angel can do to stop his program. There's nothing anybody else can do to stop. He is totally omnipotent. He is sovereign. And that's why he's asking him, can you control this one? So it reads, when he says he's over the children of pride, it seems as if he's referring to Satan. And when you know about Satan, you know that one of the things about him is pride. This is Isaiah the 14th chapter and verse 12. It says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which is weak in the nations? But thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation of the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. See, that's the mindset. That's an elevated mindset. Even when we read about there being war in heaven, right? Let's pick it up in another place. Ezekiel, the 28th chapter. Because he's talking about this, he calls him a king of Tyrus, but this is talking about Satan. And he says in verse 13, thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God, even we who was in the garden of God, that crooked serpent, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, right? Which deceiveth the whole world. The deception began in the garden. But it says, thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God, even precious stone was thy covering, the tarsus, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of the tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created, because he is an angel. Okay, he was a creation, just like man is a creation. Then he says, thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. So we know we're not talking about a regular man. He was the one where you had the tree of life that represented God, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that represented Satan, and that serpent was Satan. So it was allegorical. So calling him a crooked serpent or a dragon, that's figurative language. He says, verse 15, I want to read this. It says, thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created till iniquity was found in thee. See, in him wanting to be like the Most High, all of that is pride, brothers and sisters. All of that is pride. Let's go to John, actually. Let's go to John, the 8th chapter. And let's see something here, because he said he's over the children of pride. Well, that if we're talking about just talking about a just straight up creature, that's not really making sense. But I believe, and again, I'm qualifying my statement, is reading like he's talking about Satan, which will go along with when you read about what happened in the first and second chapter of what Satan brought upon Job, and how the Lord basically is the one that allowed that to happen. He controlled him. So he's omnipotent. He's sovereign. But this is John, and it said he had this Satan, this one, or this Leviathan had the children. He was he basically was over the children of pride. Well, Satan has children. This is John the 8th chapter in verse 44. This is what the Messiah says unto these Jews. He says, ye are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. It says he was a murderer from the beginning. Why? Because he started his killing with deception in the Garden of Eden. And abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own power, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Of it, he's the father of lies. All right. So when I believe that to be more than just talking about just a sea creature, because even you see how he's described. He's described as a lion in one place, seeking whom he made about. But he's often described. You see it in Genesis. You see it in Revelation. You see it. It seems to be in Isaiah that he's referred to as that serpent, and he's called a Leviathan. Right. So with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we have the Household of Faith. We meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel, as well as at www.israelteach.org. If you have been edified through the ministry and would like to leave a donation, you can do so on our website, www.israelteach, that's ISRAELTEACH.org. 100% of the proceeds go to the work of the ministry. Additionally, we have Bible study every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And that personal meeting ID number for that Wednesday night, 7 p.m., that's Central Standard Time. The Bible study on Wednesday nights at 7 is on Zoom. And the personal meeting ID number is 845-7108-8849. We have Friday night Bible study as well at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, also on Zoom. And that personal meeting ID number is 602-961-1318. Additionally, and lastly, there are books that I've written that are available for purchase. Into Egypt Begin with Ships, The Pagan Origins of Christian Holidays, Hell Like Wolf, Feet Like Burning Brass, Killing Black Innocents, For There Should Be Great Tribulation, and In Defense of Biblical Polygyny. All these books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, many other places where books are sold, as well as on our website. With that, peace to everybody that was listening, and it's always my prayer that you were edified.